Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of Hawaii. This is now our second property in as many weeks that we're going to be listing in the Ocean View Estates subdivision. This, of course, is a very popular sub. How popular? Well, the last property we listed just 7 days ago sold in about 4 hours. So that's my way of saying, guys, if you are serious about land out here, I would encourage you to do your due diligence sooner rather than later. These do tend to sell out quickly. For the record, guys, they do tend to sell out quickly because this is a pretty good subdivision as far as price per acre is concerned. It's one of the places in Hawaii County where you can get a lot of land, or at least a lot by Hawaii County standards, for a pretty affordable amount of money. You'll find a lot of subdivisions out here that are chopped up into quarter and to third of an acre lots or smaller. All of the properties in this subdivision are 1 acre lots, so it's a pretty charitable piece of land, pretty generous piece of land that you're going to have, etc. Additionally, as you can see from the headline, this is a subdivision that power and paved roads are ubiquitous really all throughout it, and so it tends to be very popular. So with that said, guys, let's get to the details. This is reference number HIHI-12942, located in Hawaii County, aka the Big Island, specifically the Kau district in the southern portion of the island, and more specifically the Ocean View Estates subdivision. As I have already mentioned, this property is 1 acre. And as you saw up top here, we have this 1 acre lot priced at $6,500, which again, on a price per acre basis, is pretty good for Hawaii County and even better for in this region. With that said, guys, let's pull it up on a map. We've got GPS coordinates down here like we do on all of our listing pages, 4 corner points and a center. If you click any one of them, it will orient you here on Google Maps. So first off, for those of you who haven't watched me do this exact video about 1,000 times before on other properties from this sub, let's pull back a little bit, talk about where this is in Hawaii. Let's acclimate ourselves. This, of course, is the state right here. The island you see over here, you're all probably used to calling the Big Island. It is formerly known as Hawaii County. The whole island is Hawaii County. And this specific property sits down here in the southern portion of the island. For the record, I'm trying to get the pin to appear on Google Maps. Sometimes you have to scroll in and then zoom out, but there it is. Zoom in, zoom out. Whatever the case, subject property is down here in the southern portion of the island in what is known as the Kau district, which occupies roughly, very roughly, the space that I am outlining here. The specific property is in the Ocean View Estates subdivision. There's the pin. It reappeared again. Thank you. Ocean View Estates, of course, is this entire region that you see carved out on the map right here. Whenever you see a region like this that's kind of carved out, it's usually the product of a developer who came in generations ago, bought up a couple thousand acres of land, and subdivided everything and then resold them. And out here, as noted, they subdivided them all into 1 acre parcels of land. So as you can see, if you kind of zoom in here, you'll see there's a lot of people who live in this region, who live in this subdivision. All these little white things here on the map are, of course, homes. And you've got a lot of them in this region, a lot of people living out here. Now, it should be noted that the subject property is roughly about 4 miles north of the Mamalahoa Highway, a.k.a. Highway 11, a.k.a. the Hawaii Belt Road. Of course, this road is called the Belt Road because in Hawaii County, if you want to drive north to south or east to west, you can't go in a straight line. You have to go around the island, and this would be the highway that you would use to do that. Fortunately, of course, being this close to the island puts you within easy driving distance of a lot of nearby towns, most notably up here in the Puna district. You are very close to Volcano. You are very close to Mountain View over here, to Curtistown over here, Pahoa over here, Kiau over here, and of course, most notably Hilo, which is roughly about an hour and 45-minute drive from the subject property up here. But Hilo is, of course, the population center of the island, as you can tell by the kind of dense concentration of homes and schools and businesses that you see in this region. Whatever the case, this is home to the international airport, the golf courses, a lot of big box stores, the university, so on and so forth. While we're talking landmarks, guys, I do want to make you aware that the property, the subject property that we're talking about, sits in very close proximity to a number of beaches out here. Miloli is a beach over here on this coast. Of course, you've got the Papakalea green sand beaches down here in the southern point over here. And, of course, you've got the black sand beaches of Punalu'u over here on this coast. All of these beaches are roughly about 30 minutes from the subject property. So while we like to say that there are ocean views available up here, we have that here in the headline, ocean views. I don't want to give you guys the opinion that you're sitting right on the beach with this. You're not. You're roughly about 30 minutes away. And that's 30 minutes. You know, you get in a car, you drive down to the beach, you get out, you walk down the trails, so on and so forth. It takes a little while to get to the beach. But the point is, yes, you can see the ocean from the lot. and you're probably a heck of a lot closer to the beach than wherever you're living right now. Anyway, with that said, guys, let's zoom back in here on the subject property, which again will appear on the map with the pin. So this subject property, this 1 acre lot, is located here along Mahi Mahi Drive, roughly just south of Marlin Boulevard and just north of Iwalani Parkway. If we go to map view, guys, you can see kind of property outline of this. And actually what you see here with this entire block, the way that all of these lots are kind of chopped up, this is what all of the blocks in that large Ocean View Estates region that I just showed you. This is how they're all shaped. Basically, you've got three types out here. You've got kind of like big and fat lots like this, really skinny lots like this, and then what we call the medium-shaped lots, which have roughly about 90 feet of road frontage along whatever road, in this particular case, Mahi Mahi. And the depth of the lot is roughly about 490 feet deep, something like that. Of course, if you don't believe me, guys, here on the listing page, we also have, conveniently for you, just for you guys, Google Earth representation of the general footprint of the property, size, shape, location, and also the plat map. Here on the plat map, if you squint really hard, you can see 89 feet road frontage, and you have to kind of look over here on the corners, but roughly 489 depth of the lot. So I was correct on those numbers. Whatever the case, you can study that more on your own time. Anyway, back to here. So it should be noted that the entirety of Ocean View Estates, it's a subdivision with power and paved roads really throughout almost the entire region. There are a few areas that aren't touched by power lines, but they are likely to be within the coming years because really Helco, which is the utility company out there, is always making efforts to get them all throughout the region. Additionally, should be noted that the Ocean View Estates subdivision has an organization. It's not a formal HOA, and I'll talk about it a little more later, but it's an organization that tries to kind of attract business and industry to the region. They have organized community events, so on and so forth. Whatever the case, down here at kind of the base of the subdivision, they have some businesses here, some markets, things like that, all within close proximity to all of the homeowners out here. So, of course, if you do have to do grocery and supply runs, you're really only about 4 miles away from where you'll probably be able to accomplish about 75% of that. And obviously not too far of a drive, not too difficult of a drive to go into nearby Captain Cook over here, or any of the towns that I mentioned earlier in the video. Anyway, so the subject property here along Mahi Mahi Drive, if we take the little guy on the map and we drop him right here, Google Maps is not working with me today on this video, guys. If we drop them right here, what you can see is, number one, the paved roads that I mentioned. What you do not see are the power lines. This is actually one of the few properties we purchased out here that does not have power directly at the lot line. Power, however, is very close by here at the intersection of Marlin and Mahi Mahi. And actually, if you want to get a sense, and I'll show you pictures in just a bit, if you want to get a sense of exactly how far it is from the subject property to the nearest power line here at the corner, it is roughly 500 feet. So likely not very difficult to get extended. And as the power company, as Helco is always servicing this region, always kind of extending their power lines, I wouldn't be surprised if they have plans to put power along this road sometime in the next year or so, or within the coming years. Whatever the case, if that is something that concerns you, if you do want to hook up to the grid, that's a good question to call and ask them in advance of your purchase. If you do not care about that, if you're more concerned with solar living, and you do want to kind of exploit that, this may be a better property for you then. Anyway, guys, let's go to the photo gallery. Down here at the bottom of the page, of course, we have photos taken not only from the subject property, but also from the kind of community that surrounds it. I was just showing you places on the map down really at the southern portion of that subdivision, that stores and things like that. These are some photos of that region. These are some photos of the nearby gas station, the nearby Ace hardware store. Of course, this will be beneficial. Anything that you're building out there, you're not going to be too far from the nearest hardware store, roughly about a 4-mile drive south. Of course, we got a post office, we got a bank, we have all the typical amenities that you would find in a regular small town, the market, another market, convenience store, so on and so forth, guys. And as we go through these photos, you'll see more of that, as well as just sort of the entrance to the subdivision. Here's where it's at, off of Highway 11 onto into the Ocean View Estates subdivision. This is what that entrance looks like. This is what you will see as you drive into here. And Here's some more of just kind of like Ocean View Community Center, where they've got things like the local rubbish disposal company. We actually employed them one time to clear a lot for us. Point being, as noted, this is an organization that's more concerned with community development per se than in collecting dues or ticky-tack fines or things like that. They're very laid back, and they're not a formal HOA. So there are actually no annual dues that are owed to them. Whatever the case, they are responsible for things like, putting up this park out here or this little field out here. Additionally, there are some businesses here. There's a church down here at the base of the subdivision, as well as, of course, some nature trails throughout this area. Blah, blah, blah. Finally, guys, after all that, we get to pictures of the subdivision itself. This is the aforementioned corner of Mahi Mahi and Marlin. As you can see, there's power running up and down Marlin. Mahi Mahi, however, has not been outfitted with that yet, though. But as we go through this, of course, is Marlin, by the way. As we go through this, you can get a sense of exactly what this area is like. It looks like it was a little overcast that day, but normally what you're seeing here are ocean views. Of course, I think you're also seeing some clouds because you're so high up. Should be noted that the properties within this subdivision, it's really kind of constructed on a hillside. This whole area is the side of the Mauna Kea. So the further north you go within it, the higher you go in elevation. And if you take the control, kind of click the control button and kind of wiggle your mouse here on the map, you can kind of get a sense of what this is like within 3 dimensions. And you can see that, yes, the further north you go, the better views that you're going to have. And the other benefit of that, of course, is that if you get a neighbor who does decide to build some kind of monstrosity just south of your property, they're not really going to be blocking your views. So whatever views you're buying today, you're likely going to have for the foreseeable future, etc. Anyway, but in this picture, we get an excellent sense of exactly how close those power lines are. Again, not at the property boundary, but 500 feet away is really pretty reasonable. Typically, power companies will come out and extend that, 1 pole, 2 poles, whatever that takes, but for affordable sums of money if they charge you anything at all. Usually they do. Anyway, and then, of course, you get a sense of exactly what the terrain of the property looks like right now. This, of course, is some lava rock and some ohi'a trees, very common in this subdivision. Of course, before you can build out here, you're probably going to have to bulldoze all this. Of course, in this region, it is not difficult to rent a bulldozer. This is actually very common practice to, quote, doze a lot. And there are actually some people out there who just make a living just dozing lots. They own a bulldozer, and this is what they do. They come out and they help flatten and grade your land for you. Should be noted, guys, you'll need a grubbing and grading permit before you can do that. But as noted, this is a normal thing in this region, so not difficult to obtain. Anyway, as we go through this, we get a better sense of the kind of vegetation that's growing on this land and exactly what this looks like. I will let you guys peruse the gallery more on your own time. I do, however, want to just direct your attention down here to the final photos, which, of course, are the drone photos, give you a good high-angle sense of the property and the kind of views that you're going to have off in the distance here. We also, of course, have the property outlines of exactly the sort of size, shape, location, and general footprint of the property, etc., etc. With all that said, guys, let's talk a little bit more about the Ocean View Estates Community Association. So we have it linked here in the table under county contact information, and we also have it linked up here in our property specific notes. Whatever the case, if you click on this, it will take you to their website where you can learn more about this organization. The thing here that I want to point out to you guys is the Ocean View Community Association is a nonprofit corporation and is not affiliated with any homeowners association or road maintenance corporation. So that's their way of saying, calm down, we're not going to charge you money for living here. We're not going to charge you, for the privilege of owning land here. So that's good. That's a benefit. If you don't want to deal with HOAs, this is a good community for that. But the other benefit here is if you kind of go through this website and click on their, their newsletter, their calendars, their minutes meetings, they're very organized and they do a good amount of work for the community, considering the fact that they're not being paid by the community for it. You can learn more about that, but the bottom line here is there's going to be no additional fees for the land in that respect. Now, they say that they're not associated with any sort of road maintenance thing. I do want you guys to know, however, that there is a road maintenance corporation. We also have them linked here and down in the county contact information. They service the area. They service the roads in the area. They're responsible for road maintenance. And considering that you have paved roads all throughout this entire subdivision, that's a pretty good deal. Whatever the case, they charge $150 annually per lot. Of course, with this property, you're buying one lot, so you'll have an extra $150 a year to worry about. Really not difficult. They send out one bill at the start of the year, one bill at the midway point of the year. I think it's like February and September. You can pay them $75 at a time. But honestly, they provide an excellent service when you look at the quality and the conditions of the roads out there. And my understanding is that they're pretty Johnny on the spot when it comes to any sort of potholes or anything that needs to be fixed. They get out there pretty quickly. And additionally, they keep some pretty good notes here on their website as far as to, what their next project is, what roads they're repairing or what roads they're paving more and more, etc. So you can learn more about that and just about the community that you may be buying land in, that you may be living in. It should also be noted on here, they actually have some resources for people who do want to rent bulldozers. Obviously, you can buy some of these things on here, used machinery and equipment, but they also make recommendations for local companies that will come out there and will doze your land, getting back to that earlier point. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so the taxes on a lot like this are $200 annually, and the road maintenance fees are $150 annually, but that's all you're really going to have to worry about. Another thing I do want to mention, guys, we get a lot of people who call and ask about water out here, and they ask, how do I drill a well? And we say, well, it's Hawaii. There's a lot of volcanic surfaces that are below you, not too far down, so you're not going to drill a well. It's not like you're living in Michigan. What you will find out here, and sometimes when we get pictures of the neighboring properties, we'll point that out. But a lot of people use these rainwater catchment systems. And so we like to link to a company here that does this, particularly for those of you who are from the mainland. You've never had to deal with a rainwater catchment system before. You know nothing about the permits, nothing about the logistics. How many thousands of gallons do I need at any one time? It's always a good idea to reach out to vendors like this. If you're thinking seriously about buying a piece of property and you're going to go out there and you're going to start to live on it, it's good to talk to people like this and ask just those general logistical cost questions. What does this cost? How long does this take? So on and so forth. Should be noted, of course, this area gets a lot of rainfall annually, so this is a very common way for people to get their drinking water, to get their bathing water at the properties that they have in this subdivision and really other subdivisions on the island. So this is not a foreign thing. It may be if you're living in West Virginia right now, but it's not. It's a very common thing for Hawaii. So something to keep in mind and a piece of research that you may want to do. Additionally, guys, I kind of skipped over it, but we also have a link here for Helco, the Hawaii Electric Company. As noted, they've got power lines really all throughout this subdivision, except for right at the property boundary on this one. So if you are interested in hooking up to the grid, that may be a conversation that you want to have in advance of purchasing property, whether it's from us or anyone else. Call the local utility, ask them, do you have any plans to start servicing that road? You've got power pretty close to my property. What does it take to get extended? So on and so forth. Or, you may be a person who wants to go the route of solar, which, who can blame you? That's another thing that we should note about this region. We typically say up here in the headlines that these properties have relaxed zoning laws. I just want to make it clear to you guys, that doesn't mean there's no zoning. Quite the contrary. But what it really means is that they have a very laid-back attitude as to what gets built, constructed, and lived in within the confines of whatever subdivision we're talking about. And out here, yurts are very common. Tiny homes are very common. Shipping containers, just living out of your RV is very common. Of course, we sell a lot of land in New Mexico, and it's difficult to find places that are that permissive of that in New Mexico. Of course, Hawaii has a very progressive mentality. They like green, sustainable living. And anybody who wants to live off grid, wants to grow their own food, that kind of mentality is generally very welcomed in Hawaii. So it doesn't mean that there's no zoning involved. What it means is that it's more likely you're going to get approved for those things. The permits are going to be less expensive, so on and so forth. This, of course, is an excellent subdivision for that. As noted, there are ones where there are HOAs where they're either strict or they have certain rules. I don't know that I've encountered anything that's super strict in Hawaii thus far. But this one is one that is very laid back, this subdivision. And you'll find a lot of people living out here who are living in yurts, living in tiny homes, so on and so forth. In fact, guys, we actually have a link down here to this YouTube channel. It's called OffGrid Hawaii. And they actually do a lot of really good material about living off-grid on specifically the Big Island. They're not in this subdivision. I think they're in the Puna district, I believe. What it's really like living in Puna on the Big Island. Okay, well, there you go. That's probably where they're at. But the point is they offer a lot of really good tips about building things like, your own shipping container home, practically speaking, what it's like living out of that, compost toilets, so on and so forth, growing your own food. It's a really good channel for that. Off-grid solar power, here's another one of those. But if this is a lifestyle that you're thinking of living, that you want to explore, and you're looking at this property as a serious way to do that in Hawaii, this may be a good resource for you guys, so we'd like to throw it out there. Whatever the case, guys, if you are interested in purchasing this property, just come up here, click the Buy Now button on our listing page. It's going to take you to secure checkout. Of course, the property is $6,500 plus a $150 dock prep fee, but we like to start this off with a $500 non-refundable, guys, let me say that again, non-refundable earnest money deposit. That just kind of gets the kicks the thing off, so we know that you're a serious buyer, and then we'll discuss with you how exactly you want to close on it. Of course, here at checkout, we ask for a couple pieces of information: legal name for deed, marital status. That's important when writing deeds in Hawaii. Tax address, so on and so forth. But then we also have this new box down here. How do you want to fund and close this purchase? Because sometimes people give us money and then they don't answer the phone. So we like to know at checkout, do you want to pay with a credit or debit card, in which case we pay the closing costs? Or do you want to close through title and escrow, in which case the buyer will be responsible for those? And of course, if you don't know, if you need to talk to us about that, that's fine too. Our third choice here is need more information before I decide. Whatever the case, guys, fill out this form, click the terms of service here, agree to them, click the next button, and on the very next page, you can enter credit or debit card credit or debit card information to make this purchase and put down the non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit. To be clear, guys, if you do want to close on this outside of escrow, it's very simple. We're going to get our attorney to draft all the documents. We pay them for that. And those are conveyance documents, by the way. You draft the deed plus other conveyance documents. They do it. We present it to you. And once you say everything's good, we're going to ask you for the rest of the money. Or if you do want to close through a title company, if you want to have that extra layer of security, that's fine with us as well. You put down the earnest money deposit. We'll draft a sale purchase agreement, get that to you. You sign it, we sign it. We'll submit it to title, and we'll let them do the rest. To learn more about that process, guys, you can go to our How It Works Buying From Us page, and you can read more about the title escrow process. Whatever the case, guys, I have gone on way too long, but I do thank you very much for listening, for watching. And if you have any questions, leave a comment here on YouTube. Shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com. Or give us a call, 702-919 or 7170. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.